moving almost 90% of Americans in theaters off of where they could be a target, first of all.
So
bunkers that they would move into, early warning.
On Fort Schwebe. And I will quote from the Washington Post article of July 12th. Schwebe, this is a quote, Schwebe did not have any of the systems that would take down the one-way attack Shahed drones.
6 American soldiers were killed by a single drone at a base in Kuwait. Soldiers stationed there told reporters the facility did not have the air defenses it needed. A newspaper reported that requests for a drone defense system had been denied before the war even began. And when a senator asks the Secretary of War one thing, will you release the Army's own investigation into that attack? He will not say yes. This isn't about opinions. It's about a document that exists, and whether you're allowed to see it.
U.S. Army Central has conducted an investigation into that attack. Do you commit to releasing the findings of that investigation publicly, yes or no?
We'll get you the status of that.
Do you commit to releasing the findings? Yes or no? We'll get you the status of that. This is Carter McKenzie. We don't do outrage, we read the receipts. And today the receipt is one the department already has and won't hand over. Start with the facts on the record, because Baldwin builds this like a case file, not a speech. The deadliest day for US forces in this war was March 1st. An Iranian drone struck an army facility at Port Shuaya in Kuwait, killing 6 soldiers and injuring more than 30, including soldiers from her state, Wisconsin. Watch her lay out the paper trail.
The deadliest day for U.S. forces was on March 1st, when an Iranian drone struck an army facility at Port Shuaya, Kuwait, killing 6 soldiers and injuring more than 30 others, including soldiers from Wisconsin. Soldiers from the unit stationed at Port Shuaya told reporters that the facility did not have adequate air defense capabilities. These soldiers and their families believed they were sent into harm's way without the defenses they needed. Secretary Hegseth, what would you say to those soldiers and their families?
First of all, that we honor and recognize their sacrifice and what they've given. I've been in touch with at least one of those families on a regular basis and understand the pain of losing a loved one is unfathomable, which is why we greeted them at Dover, and we'll greet those again tomorrow. I would say in talking to Admiral Cooper, the CENTCOM commander, before all of this was undertaken, maximizing defensive capabilities, mostly by moving as many people as possible off the X, which we did in historic fashion, moving almost 90% of Americans in theaters off of where they could be a target, first of all.
So
bunkers that they would move into, early warning.
On Fort Shuaya, and I will quote from the Washington Post article of July 12th. Schwebe, this is a quote, Schwebe did not have any of the systems that would take down the one-way attack Shahed drones, and initial security assessments found that the base was not adequately protected, end quote.
That last line isn't Baldwin's opinion, it's a direct quote she reads from a Washington Post article on the record. The base did not have the systems that would have stopped the exact type of drone that killed these 6 people. Hold that, because the next receipt turns a tragedy into a question of accountability.
Soldiers at Port Shuaya have also been quoted in news reports saying that requests for additional medical and drone defense systems were denied prior to the conflict with Iran beginning. Why were those requests denied, Secretary Hegseth?
I would confer with Admiral Cooper, but it's not a single drone or defense request denied at any level that I'm aware of. We did everything we could to move heaven and earth in every single location to protect every single American we possibly could.
An article from July 12th, Washington Post also quoted a soldier saying that the unit's request for an Eagles drone defense system was denied because of lack of assets. That's an end quote. U.S. Army Central has conducted an investigation into that attack. Do you commit to releasing the findings of that investigation publicly, yes or no?
We'll get you the status of that. I would argue if it was a resource constraint, that's precisely why we're having this hearing today, to speed up systems to the battlefield, to warfighters as fast as humanly possible. It's been too slow in the past. It needs to be faster. The reforms we're undertaking will do that.
Findings of that investigation publicly, yes or no?
I will work with Admiral Cooper to make sure it's handled properly. Yes, Senator.
This is the hinge of the whole thing, so let's be precise. Baldwin says requests for drone defense were denied. Hegseth answers that not a single request was denied, at any level that I'm aware of. Then Baldwin reads the Washington Post again. A specific unit's request for an Eagles drone defense system was denied because of lack of assets. So you have two accounts that cannot both be right. The Secretary's none that I'm aware of, and a named newspaper citing a specific denied system. And there is one document that would settle it. The U.S. Army Central investigation into the attack, which already exists. That's what Baldwin asks him to release. Twice. He will not commit. Notice the shape of the non-answer, because it's a technique, not an accident. Baldwin asks a closed question, yes or no. Will you release the findings? The honest answers are 2 words each. Yes or no. What she gets is, we'll get you the status of that, and then I will work with Admiral Cooper to make sure it's handled properly. Both sound cooperative. Neither commits to anything. I'll look into it, is what you say when yes is too costly and no is too damaging. It buys time and hopes the question doesn't come back. And here's why the released or not question matters more than the argument about who's right. If the investigation clears the department, if no request was denied, if the base was adequately defended, then releasing it is the single best thing Hegseth could do. It would end the story, vindicate the leadership, and honor the 6 families with the truth. The only reason to keep an exonerating report sealed is if it doesn't exonerate. That's not a partisan claim. It's the logic of every cover-up ever examined. The receipt that would clear you is the one you release fastest. And Baldwin doesn't stop at the drone. She adds one more receipt about what happened to the wounded after.
Secretary Hegseth, I traveled to Walter Reed Military Hospital and met with soldiers who were injured in that attack. What they told me confirmed what other soldiers have said publicly, that most of these soldiers injured in the attack did not receive proper medical care in Kuwait, in Germany, or during their initial days back in the U.S. The U.S. military has been fighting wars in the Middle East for 25 years. Why was proper medical care not immediately available to these injured soldiers, and why were they not immediately screened for traumatic brain injuries?
Now the receipts cut both ways, and Hegseth's side deserves a fair hearing. He states plainly that he is not aware of any denied drone or defense request, and it's genuinely possible that a request denied at a lower command level never reached his desk. That's how large bureaucracies work. He also points out correctly that the department moved roughly 90% of Americans in theater off exposed positions before the strikes, a real effort to reduce casualties. And on the medical care, he says every effort was made, which the doctors at each stage may well corroborate. None of that is nothing. But watch what all of it has in common. Every one of his defenses is a reason to release the investigation, not to withhold it. If the denial never reached him, the report shows where it stopped. If the base was as protected as possible, the report proves it. If the medical care was adequate, the records confirm it. The document doesn't threaten an innocent department, it protects one. So the refusal to commit to releasing it is the one fact that survives every explanation. So here's what the receipts actually say, stripped of the shouting. 6 soldiers died in the deadliest attack of this war. A newspaper reported the base lacked the systems to stop the drone that killed them, and that a specific drone defense request was denied for lack of assets. The Secretary of War says he's unaware of any denial, and an Army investigation that could settle it already exists. A senator asked him, twice, to make it public. He would not say yes. A cover or nothing to hide? Don't take my word for it. The full hearing is linked below. Watch Baldwin's 5 minutes and count the answers. This is Carter Mackenzie. We read the receipts, so you never have to take anyone's word for it, not theirs, and not mine.